The headline hit before sunrise. Former CEO Lee Min-jun secretly involved with employee's mother. Scandal rocks boardroom. Mariah Benson saw it the moment her phone lit up, and her stomach dropped. "No," she whispered. Her fingers tightened around the device as more notifications flooded in. Messages, calls, unknown numbers, even Raymond. It was everywhere. Photos, blurry but clear enough. Her, Lee Min-jun, leaving the building together. Another headline refreshed beneath it. Was his resignation really about conflict of interest or something more personal? Mariah exhaled sharply, pushing herself up from the edge of her bed. Her heart wasn't racing, it was sinking, heavy, like something she had just begun to understand was already being twisted into something ugly. Hello viewers, welcome back to our story. This is part 2 of At 52 I Thought Love Was Over Until My Son's 37-year-old Korean Boss Fell for Me. Now back to our story. Her phone buzzed again. Raymond. She answered immediately. "Ray? What is going on?" His voice came fast, tight, controlled, but barely. Mariah closed her eyes briefly, steadying herself. "I just saw it. They're saying he used his position to get close to you. They're dragging your name into this like you planned it." "I didn't," she said firmly. "I know that," he snapped quickly. Then softer, frustrated. "I know that, Mom." There was a pause. Then, "Where is he?" Mariah hesitated. "I don't know," she admitted. And that was the truth. She hadn't heard from him since last night, since they walked out together, since things had finally shifted. Now this. Raymond exhaled sharply. "Stay inside. Don't talk to anyone. I'm coming over." "Ray, please, just don't open the door for anyone." The line went dead. Mariah stood there for a moment, phone still in her hand, the silence in her apartment suddenly louder than it had ever been. This wasn't just attention, this was exposure, and it had come fast, too fast. Across the city, Lee Min-jun was already watching it unfold. The screens in front of him flickered with the same headlines, the same images, the same narrative being built in real time. Controlled, precise, deliberate. His expression didn't change, but his jaw tightened slightly. "They moved faster than expected," his assistant said quietly from across the room. "They didn't move fast," Min-jun replied calmly. "They were ready." Silence. Because that meant something worse. This wasn't reaction, this was setup. His gaze shifted slightly, landing on one specific article. The wording, the framing, the implication. Not just scandal, damage. To him, yes, but more importantly, to her. That was the problem. That was always going to be the problem. His hand curled slightly on the desk. "They used her name," he said quietly. It wasn't anger, not loud, but it was there. Sharp, controlled, dangerous. "What do you want to do?" the assistant asked carefully. "Nothing," he said. The assistant blinked. "Sir?" They're expecting a response, a denial, a statement, something reactive. He stood slowly, straightened his jacket. "But I'm not reacting." Then his eyes hardened just slightly. "I'm ending it." Mariah didn't get the chance to think, because by mid-morning, there was a knock on her door. Sharp, firm, repeated. Her heart jumped. Raymond? No, too fast. The knock came again. "Miss Benson, we'd like to ask you a few questions." Press, of course. Mariah closed her eyes briefly, steadying herself, then stepped back, silently. The knocking continued for a few more seconds before finally stopping, but the presence outside didn't. She could feel it, waiting, watching. Her phone buzzed again. This time, an unknown number. She stared at it for a moment, then answered. "Hello?" Silence. Then, "Don't open the door." Her breath caught. "Minjun?" His voice was calm, steady. "I'm outside." Her heart skipped. "What?" "Back exit. 2 minutes." And then, the line went dead. Mariah didn't think, didn't question. She grabbed her coat and moved, fast. Through the hallway, down the stairs, avoiding the front completely. Her pulse picked up, not from fear, but from the intensity of it. The situation. Him. Everything crashing together at once. She pushed through the back door, and there he was, standing beside a black car, waiting, just like before. But this time, there was no calm moment behind it, no quiet tension, just urgency. "Get in," he said. She did. No hesitation. The door shut, the car moved, and just like that, she was gone. Inside the car, silence filled the space for a few seconds. "Do you want to explain what's happening?" Mariah asked, her voice calm but sharp. Minjun didn't look at her immediately. "They're controlling the narrative," he said. "That's not an explanation. They're using you to make it believable." Mariah turned to him. "Who is they?" "The board." Her expression hardened. "I thought they already got what they wanted," she said. "You stepped down." "I did." "Then why this?" His jaw tightened slightly. Because stepping down wasn't the goal. Now he looked at her. It was the beginning. That wasn't good. Mariah leaned back slightly. "So what is the goal?" "To make sure I don't come back." Silence. That landed. Heavy. Because this wasn't just about reputation. It was about control, power, and removal. Mariah exhaled slowly, trying to process. "And dragging me into it helps... how?" Minjun's gaze darkened slightly. "It doesn't help them. It helps them hurt me." There it was. Raw. Simple. True. Mariah looked away briefly, her chest tightening. Because now, this wasn't just his problem, it was hers too. And she hadn't chosen it. Not this part. "Then fix it," she said. "I will." "How?" "I'm going to make a move they can't control." Mariah frowned slightly. "Which is?" His voice dropped. "Come. Certain. Marry you." There was silence. The car didn't stop. The world didn't pause. But inside, everything shifted. Mariah blinked. "I'm sorry... what?" He didn't repeat it, didn't soften it, didn't explain it away. He just looked at her, completely serious. "This narrative only works if you're a secret," he said. "If you're something hidden, something inappropriate." Her heart started beating faster now. Not soft, not slow. Fast. Sharp. "And if we're not?" she asks quietly. His answer came without hesitation. "Then they lose control of the story." Silence. Heavy. Emotional. Unreal. Mariah stared at him, searching his face, trying to find anything that made this less insane. But there was nothing. Just certainty. Again. Always certainty. "You're asking me to marry you," she said slowly. "To fix a scandal?" "No. I'm asking you because I was going to eventually." That hit differently, and they both knew it. Mariah looked away briefly, her chest tightening now. This wasn't just strategy. It couldn't be. Not with him. Not with the way he looked at her. Not with everything that had already happened. But still, "This is fast," she said. "Yes. This is complicated. Yes. This is not normal." A faint shift in his expression, almost something softer. "I know." She let out a breath, half disbelief, half something else, something deeper. "Minjun," her voice dropped slightly. What happens after the scandal is gone? That was the real question. Not the headlines, not the board, not the pressure. Him. Them. The silence stretched for a second. Then, I stay. Her chest tightened. Are you sure? Yes. No hesitation. Again. Mariah closed her eyes briefly. Because this wasn't just a decision. It was a turning point. A line you couldn't step back from. And somehow, despite everything, she didn't feel fear. She felt pulled. The same way she had from the beginning. You really don't do things halfway, do you? She murmured. No. A small, almost reluctant smile touched her lips. That's what worries me. Say yes. Not a command, not this time. Something quieter, more real, and for the first time, uncertain. Mariah opened her eyes slowly, looked at him, really looked at him, and felt it. That same thing she hadn't been able to ignore. Not fear, not pressure, but choice. Her choice. Drive, she said softly. He didn't move. Mariah, I didn't say no, she added, her voice steady. I need to think. That was enough for now. Minju nodded once, and the car kept moving. But neither of them said anything else. Because everything had already changed. Raymond didn't knock. He opened the door and walked in. Mom! Then he stopped. Because she wasn't alone. Mariah stood near the window, still in her coat, and across from her, Lee Min-jun, calm, composed, like nothing in the world could shake him. Raymond's jaw tightened instantly. Of course he's here. Mariah exhaled softly. Ray! No, he cut in, stepping further inside. No, don't Ray me right now. I've been calling you for the past hour, and you're here with him? His eyes flicked toward Min-jun, sharp and unwelcoming. You really don't listen, do you? Min-jun didn't react to the tone. I told her to come with me. That doesn't make it better, Raymond shot back. It does if it keeps her in a situation you can't control. That did it. Raymond let out a short, disbelieving laugh. You still think this is something you control. Silence. Tight. Dangerous. Mariah stepped forward slightly. Both of you, stop. They didn't. Of course they didn't, because this wasn't just tension anymore. This was collision. What did you tell her? Raymond demanded, his eyes locked on Min-jun. What exactly are you pulling now? Min-jun held his gaze, unmoving. The truth. Raymond scoffed. That's not an answer. I asked her to marry me. The room went still. Completely. Raymond blinked. Once. Twice. You did what? Mariah closed her eyes briefly. Min-jun. No, Raymond snapped, holding up a hand. No, don't soften that. I want to hear this properly. He stepped closer, his voice dropping, but not calming. You asked my mother to marry you? Yes. Just like that. No hesitation. No apology. Raymond laughed again, but there was no humor in it. This is insane. It's necessary, Min-jun replied. For who? Raymond shot back. For you? For your reputation? For her. That made Raymond pause, just for a second. Then his expression hardened even more. Don't do that, he said quietly. Don't twist this into something protective. I'm not twisting anything. You're using her, Raymond said. Again. That word lingered, heavy, because it wasn't completely wrong. Mariah felt it, and Min-jun did too. But he didn't step back from it. If I wanted to use her, he said calmly, I wouldn't have given up everything. Silence. That hit. Raymond's jaw tightened. You didn't give it up, you lost it. No, Min-jun said. I chose it. That shifted something. Even Raymond felt it, but he didn't let it show. Then choose to stay away from her, he said immediately. No. Again, that same answer, always the same, firm, final. Mariah stepped in now, her voice cutting through the tension. Enough. Both men went quiet. She looked at Raymond first. I haven't said yes. That slowed him down, just slightly. And I haven't said no either, she added. That didn't help, at all. Raymond ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Mom, this isn't something you think about. This is a mess. I know. No, I don't think you do, he said, because if you did, you wouldn't even consider it. Mariah's expression softened, but only slightly. You're scared. Yes, he admitted immediately, and I have every reason to be. She nodded slowly. I understand that. Then listen to me. I am listening. No, you're hearing me, he corrected. There's a difference. That landed. Mariah exhaled quietly, then turned to Minjun. And you, she said, her tone shifting, this isn't something you decide for me. I know. Then stop acting like the outcome is already set. I'm not acting. I'm hoping. That surprised her. And for a moment, it softened something. Just a little. Later that night, the silence returned. But it wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. Mariah sat alone again, the city lights reflecting faintly through her window. Her phone rested beside her, quiet for once. Too quiet. Because now, she knew something was coming. And she was right. The next headline dropped at exactly 9:12 p.m. Former CEO's past resurfaces, engagement to socialite revealed. Mariah's eyes narrowed. What? She clicked it, and there it was. A photo, clear, sharp, undeniable. Lee Min-jun standing beside a woman. Elegant, beautiful, polished. Her hand resting lightly on his arm. The caption beneath it. Min-jun and former fiancé, Han Soo-jin, before their sudden split years ago. Mariah leaned back slowly, her chest tightening, not from shock, but from something else. Something quieter, more personal. He didn't mention this. And that mattered. Across the city, Min-jun was already reading the same article. His expression didn't change, but his phone buzzed almost immediately afterward. A name appeared on the screen. Soo-jin. He stared at it for a moment, then answered. You move quickly. A soft laugh came from the other end. You always liked that about me. His gaze darkened slightly. What do you want? A conversation, she replied smoothly. It's been a while. Not long enough. Another soft laugh, still controlled, still elegant, still dangerous. You're making headlines again, she said. I thought you'd be more careful. I'm not interested in your commentary. No, she agreed. You're interested in her. Silence. That was all the confirmation she needed. I saw the photos, she continued. She's different. Min-jun didn't respond, because anything he said would be too much, and he knew that. I'm coming back, she said. That made his jaw tighten slightly. No, that wasn't a request. Then her voice softened just enough to feel intentional. You don't get to rewrite everything without me, Min-jun. I already have. Have you? She asked quietly. Silence. Because now, things are shifting again. And this time, it wasn't just the board. It wasn't just the scandal. It was something older, more personal, and far more complicated. Mariah didn't call him, not immediately. She waited, thought, felt. And that was the problem, because the more she thought, the more questions came. And she didn't like unanswered questions, especially not now, especially not when everything was unstable. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was him. She stared at it for a second, then answered. You didn't tell me. No greeting, no hesitation, just truth. A pause on the other end. Then, I was going to. That's not the same thing. I know. Mariah stood slowly, pacing just slightly. How long? She asked. Years. That's not what I asked. Years. Her chest tightened. And it just ended? Yes. Why? There was a pause, longer this time. Then, because I never felt what I was supposed to. That answer came too easily, too clean. Mariah didn't trust it. And now? She asked quietly. Another pause. Then, now I do. That hit. harder than she expected. And she didn't like that. Not at all. Mariah closed her eyes briefly. "This is exactly what I meant," she said. "Complicated." "Yes. And she's coming back, isn't she?" Silence. That was enough. Mariah let out a slow breath. "Of course she is." "Mariah." "No," she cut in softly. "Don't explain it yet. I need to see it." That stopped him. "What?" "I need to see what this really is," she said, "not what you say it is." Her voice was calm, but firm, grounded. "And if I'm going to make a decision," she added quietly, "it's going to be based on everything. Not just him, not just the past, not just the feeling. Everything." Min-jun didn't respond immediately. Then, "All right." And just like that, the next phase began. The car door slammed harder than necessary. Heads turned instantly. Cameras followed. And just like that, she arrived. Han Soo-jin didn't rush. She stepped out slowly, deliberately, like every movement had already been planned before she even landed in the city. Her heels touched the pavement with quiet precision, her posture flawless, her expression calm, controlled. But her eyes, sharp, focused, unforgiving. The reporters surged forward immediately. "Miss Han, are you here because of Lee Min-jun? Is it true you were engaged? What do you think about the woman involved in the scandal?" Soo-jin didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. She smiled. Soft, polished, dangerous. "I think," she said smoothly, her voice carrying just enough, "that people shouldn't insert themselves into things they don't understand." That was all. But it was enough, because it wasn't denial. It wasn't confirmation. It was positioning. And everyone felt it. Mariah saw it live. Every word, every look, every calculated pause. And for the first time since this started, she felt it. Not fear, not anger, but something deeper, something quieter, displacement. She didn't belong in that world. Not like that woman did. Not with cameras flashing and people analyzing every glance like it meant something bigger. Mariah exhaled slowly, setting her phone down. So this is what I'm stepping into. And suddenly, the decision in front of her didn't feel theoretical anymore. It felt real. By evening, the tension reached its peak. Because Soo-jin didn't wait. Of course she didn't. She walked straight into his world. The building still carried his name in whispers, even if his office no longer did. And when she stepped inside, everything shifted. Employees noticed. Whispers spread. Eyes followed. Because this wasn't just any visitor. This was history. And history always came with weight. She didn't knock. She opened the door. And there he was, standing by the window. Just like always. Lee Min-jun didn't turn immediately. But he knew. Of course he knew. "It shouldn't be here," he said calmly. Soo-jin closed the door behind her. "And miss this?" she replied lightly. "I flew all this way." He turned then, slowly, and for the first time since her arrival, something shifted in her expression. Not softness, not warmth, but recognition. "You look the same," she said. "You don't," he replied. A small smile touched her lips. "Is that supposed to be an insult?" "No," he said. "It's an observation." Silence. Thick. Layered. Because there was history here. Real history. Not imagined. Not one-sided. Something that existed long before Mariah ever entered the picture. And Soo-jin knew it. She stepped closer, her gaze steady. "You didn't tell me." "There was nothing to tell." "You're in a scandal, and somehow I'm finding out from the news?" "That's your problem, not mine." That stung. Just slightly. But she didn't show it. You always did that, she said. Cut things off like they meant nothing. They didn't. That landed harder. Because this time, it was final. Soo-jin studied him for a long moment. Then, who is she? Straight to it. No games, no pretending. Lee Min-jun didn't answer immediately, which told her everything. So she matters, Soo-jin concluded softly. Yes, that word again. Always the same. Simple, certain, unshaken. And for the first time, her smile faded. Just slightly. You're serious? Yes. Silence. And now, the tension shifted. Because this wasn't about the past anymore. This was about now. About someone else standing where she used to be. And Soo-jin didn't like that. Not at all. She's not from our world, she said. I know. She won't survive it. Min-jun's gaze hardened. She doesn't have to. Soo-jin tilted her head slightly. That's not how this works. It is now. Another pause. Then, she stepped even closer. Close enough for her voice to drop. More personal. More dangerous. You're making a mistake, she said quietly. No. You always say that, she replied, right before things fall apart. His expression didn't change. Then let them. That wasn't the answer she expected. And for the first time, there was a crack. Small, but real. You'd risk everything, she said slowly, for someone you just reconnected with? I'd risk everything for someone who never needed anything from me. Silence. That hit. Because she understood exactly what he meant. And she didn't like it. Not one bit. Mariah didn't plan to see her, but somehow she did. It wasn't traumatic. Not at first. Just timing. Wrong place, right moment. Mariah had stepped into the building, uncertain, steady, but determined. And as she turned the corner, she saw them. Together. Close. Talking. History standing right in front of her. Soo-jin noticed her first. Of course she did. Her eyes shifted, locked, assessed, in seconds. And just like that, the air changed. Min-jun turned slightly, following her gaze, and when he saw Mariah, everything else faded. Completely. Mariah. He stepped forward immediately, but she didn't move. Not closer, not away. Just still, taking it in. Because now, this wasn't a story. This wasn't words. This was real. And it was standing right in front of her. Soo-jin stepped forward too. Calm, composed, perfect. So this is her, she said softly. Mariah's eyes met hers, and in that moment, everything unspoken passed between them. Comparison, judgment, understanding. Two completely different women standing in the same space for the same man. I'm Mariah, she said simply. Soo-jin smiled slightly. I know. Of course she did. Han Soo-jin. There it was, clear, direct, no confusion. Mariah nodded once, polite, but not small, not intimidated. I saw the news, Mariah added. Soo-jin's smile didn't fade. I'm sure you did. Silence. Tight. Measured. You were engaged, Mariah said. Yes. No hesitation. And now, Mariah asked. Soo-jin tilted her head slightly. That depends. On him, on her, on everything. Mariah let that sit for a second. It doesn't, she said quietly. That shifted something. Min-jun watched her closely now. Because her tone, it wasn't uncertain anymore. It wasn't questioning. It was grounded. I'm not part of something unclear. Not now, not ever. Soo-jin's eyes flickered slightly. Interest, recognition, respect. She's stronger than I expected, she murmured. I told you, Min-jun said. Mariah didn't look at him. Not yet. Because this moment, this decision, It wasn't about him, not completely. It was about her, and what she was willing to accept, or walk away from. She finally turned to him, her gaze steady, clear. "You said we start honestly," she said. "Yes." "Then this is where that starts." Silence. Heavy. Real. "And I need to know," she added, her voice quieter now, but stronger, "that I'm not stepping into something unfinished." Min-jun didn't hesitate. "I ended it." Soo-jin let out a soft breath, almost a laugh. "Did you?" she asked. He didn't look at her. Completely. That word hung in the air. Final. Unmovable. Soo-jin studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled. But this time, it wasn't soft. It wasn't warm. It was accepting, in a way that didn't feel like surrender. "You've changed," she said. "No," he replied. "I haven't. You just finally chose something you can't control." And with that, she stepped back, not defeated, not broken, but done. For now. Mariah stood there, still processing, still feeling everything at once, and yet, something inside her had settled. Because now, she had seen it. All of it. The past, the pressure, the reality. And him, standing in the middle of it, not running, not hiding, just there, waiting. For her. "This really is complicated," she said softly. Min-jun exhaled slightly. "Yes. But I'm still here." Mariah looked at him. Long. Carefully. And this time, she didn't look away. The next morning, the courtroom doors opened, and everything stopped. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just shifted. Because the man walking in wasn't supposed to be there anymore. Not in that building. Not in that position. Not in that fight. And yet, Lee Min-jun walked in like he had never left. Calm, composed, unshaken. Mariah felt it before she even saw him. That presence, that quiet certainty. Her fingers tightened slightly around the edge of the bench as she turned. And there he was. Their eyes met instantly. No hesitation, no distance, just connection. Real, grounded, chosen. Raymond leaned slightly toward her. "He wasn't supposed to come," he muttered. Mariah didn't respond, because something inside her already understood. He didn't come for the board. He came for her. The hearing had been called fast, too fast. Legal pressure, financial accusations, conflict of interest. The board wasn't just trying to remove him anymore. They were trying to erase him. Reputation, influence, control. All of it. And now, Mariah was part of the narrative. Again. She sat there, composed on the outside. But inside, everything was moving. Because this wasn't just about him anymore. This was about what she had decided, what she was about to decide, and whether she was willing to stand in it, fully. Min-jun didn't sit. He stood, right there in the center, facing them, facing everything. And when he spoke, he didn't defend himself. He didn't argue. He didn't deny. "I approved the hire." The room stilled. "I knew who he was." Another pause. "And I would do it again." A ripple moved through the room. Controlled, but real. Because that wasn't strategy. That was truth. And truth didn't always protect you. Mariah's chest tightened slightly. Because this was what he meant when he said he wouldn't lie, even when it cost him everything. The board's lawyers stepped forward. "You're admitting to manipulation of internal processes." "I'm admitting to a decision," Min-jun cut in calmly. "A personal one," the lawyer pressed. "Yes." Silence. Then, "That decision compromised the company." "No," Min-jun said. "It revealed it." That shifted something, subtle, but enough. Because now, this wasn't just about him. It was about them. And they didn't like that. Mariah watched it all. Every word, every move, every moment where he could have stepped back, and didn't. And slowly, something inside her settled. Not confusion, not hesitation, but clarity. Because this man, for all his control, for all his calculated choices, was standing there with nothing left to hide, nothing left to protect, except her. The hearing ended without resolution. Of course it did. These things always dragged, always stretched. But the damage? That had already been done. Or so they thought. Outside, the press was waiting. Cameras, voices, questions thrown like weapons. "Mr. Lee, any comment on the allegations? Are you using this relationship to regain control? Is marriage part of your strategy?" Mariah froze slightly at that last one. Marriage. It was out now. Not whispered, not private. Public and irreversible. Min Jun didn't look at the cameras, didn't acknowledge the noise. He looked at her. Only her. And in that moment, everything else disappeared. "Come with me," he said quietly. Not urgent, not pressured, just real. Mariah hesitated, only for a second. Then she stepped forward. The car ride was silent, but it wasn't empty. Because both of them knew this was it. The moment, the decision. No more delays, no more distractions, just truth. When the car stopped, Mariah looked up, brows pulling together slightly. "Why are we here?" It wasn't a restaurant, not an office, not somewhere controlled. It was simple, quiet, a small private registry building. Min Jun turned to her, his expression calm, but his eyes honest, open, unguarded. "For an answer," he said. Her breath caught slightly. Because now, this wasn't theory anymore. This wasn't think about it. This was choose. Mariah stepped out of the car slowly. Her heart wasn't racing wildly. It was steady, grounded, because deep down, she already knew. She just needed to say it out loud, for herself, for him, for everything that came next. Inside, it was quiet. No cameras, no noise, no pressure. Just a desk, a woman behind it, and space to decide. Min Jun didn't speak immediately, didn't rush her, didn't fill the silence. Because for the first time, he wasn't leading. He was waiting. Mariah turned to him, studied his face, really studied it. Not as the CEO, not as the man in the headlines, but as the man who waited years, who made the wrong choices, owned them, paid for them, and still stood here, without asking for anything he hadn't earned. "You really turned everything upside down," she said softly. A faint breath left him. "Yes." She shook her head lightly. "That wasn't part of my plan. My life was simple, not easy, but simple." "I know. And then you showed up. And now nothing feels simple anymore." Min Jun didn't interrupt, didn't defend, didn't explain, because this wasn't something to fix. This was something to accept. Mariah stepped closer, just one step, but it changed everything. "Say it again," she said quietly. His gaze held hers. "Marry me." No hesitation, no strategy, just truth. Mariah exhaled slowly. Then she smiled. Small, real, certain. "Okay." There was silence, but this time it wasn't heavy. It wasn't uncertain. It was final. The papers were signed quietly. No audience, no spectacle, no announcement. Just two people choosing each other, without permission, without approval, without fear. Hours later, the world found out anyway. Of course it did. Breaking. Former CEO Lee Min Jun marries amid scandal. Public declaration shifts narrative. But this time, it didn't land the same, because this time, it wasn't hidden, it wasn't questionable, it wasn't unclear, it was undeniable. Raymond stared at the screen, then at them, standing together, side by side, not distant, not uneven, equal. He exhaled slowly. "You really did it." Mariah smiled slightly. "Yes." He shook his head, still processing, still unsure, but no longer fighting it. "This is still complicated." Minjun nodded once. Yes. Mariah glanced at her son, then back at her husband, and this time, the word didn't feel strange. It felt right. But it's ours, she said. Weeks later, the board's case weakened. Public opinion shifted. Not completely, but enough. Because control only worked when the story stayed hidden, and this one wasn't hidden anymore. One evening, Mariah stood by the window again, but this time she wasn't alone. Minjun stepped beside her, quiet, present, certain, just like always. "You don't regret it?" he asked softly. She glanced at him, a small smile forming. "No. Do you?" His answer came the same way it always did, without hesitation. Never. Outside, the city moved like nothing had changed, but inside, everything had. Because this wasn't just about love, it wasn't just about timing, it wasn't just about fate. It was about choice. Two people from completely different worlds choosing each other anyway, and standing in it, fully. And this time, there was no waiting, no distance, no years in between. Just now. Just them. Just beginning. If this story meant something to you, don't just scroll away. After everything Mariah and Minjun went through, do you believe love like this is worth the risk? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts, your feelings, your take on their journey. If this story made you feel something, love, anger, hope, anything at all, please like and subscribe to support more powerful stories like this. Tune in and share this with someone who still believes it's never too late to find love. Because sometimes the right person doesn't come at the right time, they come at the right moment.